How are we gonna narrow it down to 10? Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 Seinfeld running gags.
Bette Midler is gonna be in the park today?
Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're looking at the best running gags from the 9 seasons of Seinfeld. These can be recurring lines, actions, or personality quirks.
Now, as I'm looking and listening, I'm also looking. You cannot discount looking. It's sort of a combination. It's looking and listening, listening and looking. But you must look.
Number 10. Who is this?
Jerry! Jerry, my hairdryer ruined the picture. I know I need another one or I can't get back into the Forbidden City.
Who is this?
Jerry!
Simple yet effective is perhaps the best way to describe this classic running gag from everyone's favorite show about nothing. The joke worked like this. A member of the gang, usually George, would call Jerry in a frenzy, making an urgent and highly specific request that only Jerry would understand. And he'd reply by asking in a nonchalant manner, "Who is this?"
Jerry, I'm trapped under my desk. Steinbrenner's in the room. You gotta help me.
Who is this?
Jerry!
The gag works because of the juxtaposition between George's desperate, often hysterical behavior and Jerry's cool, calm, and collected way of responding to it. Of course, sometimes Jerry himself fell prey to the joke, but it always worked best when it was George on the other end of the line.
Yeah.
Jerry! The Japanese guys had sake in the hot tub. You gotta get them out of the drawers and get them down here, or I don't have a focus group to sell the pilot to Japanese TV.
Uncle Leo?
Jerry!
All right, I'll wake him up.
Number 9. Elaine and Puddy breaking up.
You don't want it to be someone you know, and you don't want it to be someone better than you. Now, even though the latter's obviously impossible, the former still applies.
David Putty, often referred to simply as Putty, was Elaine's on-again, off-again boyfriend who first popped up in the season 6 episode, The Fusilli Jerry. The running gag between these two was that they broke up and got back together so often, it became totally meaningless to both of them. Of course, they were never really meant to be, not with Putty's odd character traits, the face painting anyone, or his laissez-faire attitude towards their relationship, and Elaine's seemingly never-ending list of turnoffs.
You sit down, you're disturbing everybody. Sit down.
Oh yeah, because you're a Rangers fan and you know I'm messing with their heads.
The highlight of the gag came in season 9, when Elaine and Putty broke up, got back together, and then broke up again, all on a single flight.
I mean, look at this. Nothing has changed. We've been back together 2 hours. We're having the same problems we had 12 hours ago.
Oh, tell me about it. I don't know why I ever took you back.
Number 8. Fake George Steinbrenner.
Hire this man.
Seinfeld had a knack for incorporating caricatures of real people into the show to great comedic effect, and fake George Steinbrenner was the crowning achievement. Larry David provided Steinbrenner's voice, while actors Mitch Mitchell and Lee Baer acted as his physical stand-in, though his face was always obscured.
Oh, that smell. I know that smell. It's in the building. Costanza is in the building, and he's not in his office. He's got the calzone. Costanza!
The character made his first appearance in season 5, and had a recurring role until George was traded from the Yankees to Tyler Chicken. Fake Steinbrenner was prone to outbursts of emotion, bad baseball decisions, and for flailing his arms in a ridiculous manner. The real George Steinbrenner was a fan of the show, and even had a cameo in season 7, though it ended up being cut.
Well, Keno was a good prospect, no question about it. But my baseball people love Ken Phelps' bat. They kept saying, Ken Phelps, Ken Phelps.
Number 7. George talking about himself in the third person.
George is getting upset!
Such is the way George Costanza spoke at various points throughout Seinfeld. He picked up the habit after meeting Jimmy, a peculiar man who always referred to himself in the third person.
Great game!
Oh yeah, Jimmy played pretty good.
George, being George, decided to try it out for himself.
George would never do anything like that.
The gag just works, plain and simple. It's easily quotable and a whole lot of fun to try out on your friends. Just don't do it too much, because nobody likes a guy who only talks about himself.
It's the Kung Pao. George likes his chicken spicy.
Number 6. Kramer's business ideas.
I can't believe you put your money in that Zentrex. You could have invested in my roll-out tie dispenser.
The physical comedic force that was Cosmo Kramer was nothing if not a lovable goof. Of course, when he wasn't bursting through doors or talking about his many, seemingly non-existent friends, he was drumming up new and increasingly bizarre business ideas.
I'm telling you, this pizza idea is really gonna happen.
From a pizza restaurant where you get to make your own pie, to the infamous Peterman reality tour, Kramer had an ostensibly never-ending list of ways to make money.
The real Peterman reality bus tour. I'm confused.
Oh, and let's not forget his coffee table book about coffee tables, which he almost pulled off in season 5. Of course, it did not end well.
But he's adorable.
Yeah, he is. He's a nice-looking guy.
Number 5. George's fake jobs.
Tell you, Jerry, at that moment, I was a marine biologist.
Throughout Seinfeld, George held numerous jobs, from his time as a hand model to his years working with the Yankees. And yet it's the jobs that he claims to have held, but never actually did, that stand out the most. George, at various points throughout the series, claimed to be an importer-exporter, a marine biologist, a latex salesman, and an architect. Oftentimes, he would also assume the pseudonym Art Vandelay when discussing his pretend jobs.
I don't know. He's an importer.
Importer.
And exporter.
Of course, the only thing better than watching George fumble through some half-assed line about a job he just made up is watching him get fired from his real jobs, which happened quite often.
You know, because I've worked in a lot of offices, and I tell you, people do that all the time.
You're fired.
Number 4. Jerry dumping women over minor flaws.
No thanks. I'm just not hungry.
Well, then at least drink your beer.
Jerry dated a lot of women, with the official number listed at 73. And yet he somehow managed to torpedo every single relationship he was in. This was mainly due to his compulsion for seeking out flaws in the women he went out with, regardless of how small they might have been.
Well, you know, we were having dinner the other night, and she's got the strangest habit. She eats her peas one at a time. You've never seen anything like it. It takes her like an hour to finish them.
Jerry broke up with a woman because she ate peas one at a time, and broke up with another because she had man hands. Neurotic, fickle, and emotionally detached, Jerry was not exactly boyfriend material.
So, where were we?
I was just leaving.
Right, you were leaving.
Number 3. Get Out. The physical humor in Seinfeld was always top-notch. And while most will point to Kramer as the best physical comedian of the bunch, it's Elaine's penchant for pushing people in a fit of excitement that remains one of the show's most memorable gags.
What? Whose was it? Where'd you get it?
I'll tell you where I got it. I got it from the guy you so callously refer to as the soup Nazi.
Get out!
While the situations for when she doled out this peculiar push varied, it was always followed by the exclamation, "Get out." Elaine was prone to moments of manic behavior, but none more enduring than this one.
Get out!
Nobody was immune to her physicality, as Elaine utilized the signature move on Jerry, Kramer, and George at one point or another.
George Costanza
Yeah?
is getting married!
Number 2. Hello, Newman.
Investigation?
Hello, Jerry.
Hello, Newman.
It'd happen every couple of episodes. Newman would bump into Jerry, and the two would share the following exchange. Both men had their own way of saying hello, but the one similarity is that they would both do it in a way that expressed their deep-seated hatred for one another. Even Jerry's mom addressed Newman with contempt.
Hello, Mr. Seinfeld.
Hello, Newman.
The reason behind their dislike of one another was never revealed, but it hardly mattered.
Hello, Jerry.
Hello, Newman.
The pleasure of this gag came from its consistency and the fact that Newman was such a dastardly little weasel, and Jerry was so utterly offended by his presence. And you thought you hated your neighbor.
Hello, Newman.
Number 1. Kramer's crazy entrances.
Hey.
Who'd have thought that the way Kramer entered Jerry's apartment would become the most memorable gag? Throughout the show's 180-episode run, Kramer found increasingly bonkers ways to fly through his neighbor's door. He slid in, he fell in, he came in with his hands full, he came in bandages, he came in smoking cigars. Hell, once he came through the door holding a still ongoing game of Risk. And every time he did, the audience went nuts. You know you have one of the best jokes in sitcom history when people are still laughing 9 seasons later. Just one last thing. Did Jerry ever lock his door?
No, I don't want to.
I'll take it. No, I'll take it. What is it?
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.